Today is November 22nd, 2024. Today is also the day that Kendrick Lamar dropped his new album for anybody that cares. I skimmed through it, it was alright. But anyways, today I was up about 4.4% on a day where the NASDAQ was basically flat, slightly up 0.16, 0.18% around there. And I think I touched on this yesterday, but today was similar to what I was talking about yesterday, where sometimes because of how big Robinhood is in my portfolio, whenever it's up about 4%, my portfolio is usually up like around 2%-ish. But today was a good example of a day where Robinhood is up 4.5 and my account is also kind of around there. And it's only because the rest of my portfolio has done tremendous today. Palantir, of course, 4.6%, Nike 3%, TLT still flat. That I swear, like TLT is either flat or down. But anyways, Honest is 6.5%, Tesla is 3.7%, PayPal is 2.2%, around 2.3-ish, Pepsi barely 1%, SoFi almost 4%, American Express 3%, and the rest of my portfolio doesn't really matter, but Nubank and VF Corp having a great day today. Google has actually been tanking recently because of antitrust fears, but I might actually, I don't know, I have too much money stretched out already. I think I stretched out even more margin. I did have about 10 grand of margin originally, but now I think I bumped it up to 25, and a grand of that is of course $1,000 that I needed to borrow for an emergency, which I covered in a previous video. But yeah, I'm kind of stretched out on margin. I'm kind of waiting until I get my next few paychecks and then keep depositing money. And honestly, if I'm going to stretch out even more margin, I don't know if I'd pick Google. Like, I want a bigger Google position because I only have one share. It's pure profit, so I don't really care about this dip. But I don't know. Like, I can't let this, if this is an opportunity, of course, or if I believe it is, then I can't let this opportunity slide. But at the same time, there's so many other things that I'd want to buy. Like, let's just take a look at my portfolio, for example. So Robinhood, I have 55 grand. Obviously, I would love if I just owned the entire company, but I don't know if I should be putting even more into Robinhood for now because I kind of want to diversify just a little bit. I don't like diversifying, of course, because it holds back my gains. But if I do it intelligently, it should be all right. And I'm also trying to kind of look for risk-off positions. Maybe not so much with Nike, but what I mean by that is the market has been doing so good. Well, maybe not the whole market. The NASDAQ was kind of flat today. And recently, stocks like Google haven't been doing good. And I don't think the NASDAQ has been going up. I mean, let's just check really quick. Yeah, so for the week, it's been flat. For the month, it's 2.5. If we just check mine, 36, 37-ish, about 9.5. Yeah, so my account has been doing really good. And it's usually times like these where I kind of get a little worried because I know at any moment we could just have some stupid flash crash. The market will be down like 15%. My account will be down like 30%. So it's usually times like these where I'm a little bit scared, which is why I'm looking at stocks like Pepsi. I already have TLT, of course. I don't know if I'm going to add even more because the opportunity cost is just too high for me. And also some stocks like Nike that have already been beaten down and have a nice dividend yield. I'm slowly starting to look for stocks like that so I can have at least a little bit of income and also trade my way into these positions. And the reason why I picked Nike, even though Nike isn't technically a risk-off play, it's more of a risk-on play, and it relies on, the healthy consumer, the economy, and things like that. And the stock has already been beaten down. So it might be a little bit riskier perception-wise than a stock like Pepsi, even though risk is subjective. The amount of risk you take is the amount of money you put into it, of course, assuming there's no leverage. And I have leverage, so my risk is even higher. But perception-wise, that's what I mean. The market perceives Pepsi to be safer, quote-unquote, than Nike. I don't want to put too much into Pepsi. I kind of want to build up both positions because, first of all, I like both companies. And if I am wrong and the market just continues to go up and the consumer gets better, the economy gets better, everything just keeps going up, then Nike should benefit. Obviously, that is not guaranteed and that is not a buy and sell recommendation. That is just my thought process. So Pepsi, I guess it's somewhat of a hedge, even though recently it hasn't been acting like a risk-off play. It kind of took a hit after the Trump RFK announcement. But for my portfolio's sake, I'm just going to call it risk-off because it is a dividend-yielding stock and it's just a blue-chip staple stock. And just in case I am wrong, I'm also putting some money into Nike. And so those two stocks should juice up my dividend yield of my account a little bit. And of course, I'm using margin. So if there's ever any like big spikes in the stock price, and when Robinhood eventually releases tax loss, like, dear God, I mean, Vlad said it's going to be this year. And I don't know if you guys realize this, but it is almost the end of the year. So I'm really hoping tax lots get dropped. Like, come on, man. Like, first of all, when tax lots are released, and I know I'm getting off topic, but I swear when they release tax lots, I promise you trading activity will go up tremendously. But yeah, ultimately, I think I'm going to let Palantir ride. I did have some very not so well timed covered calls that I kind of got lucky with. What I mean by that is, if anybody saw my old video, I did sell a covered call in like the 100 range, and then I took a quick profit for like 20 or 30 bucks. And then there was this random drop in Palantir where the covered call went from $250 all the way down to like 100 or below 100 down to like 50 bucks. So, I mean, if I would have timed that perfectly, I would have made 200 bucks just off of one covered call contract. But anyways, I don't want to give up any Palantir shares. And there's people saying that it's going to go to 70, 100. Some people, I'm not as crazy as these people, but some people even think it's going to go to 200. So it is what it is. It's only 12 grand of my account. So if it keeps riding, I'm going to be happy. And if we kind of have a cool off period where the stock just doesn't really do anything, I'm also cool with that. I mean, I already have TLT that hasn't done anything like at all. So, but I would like Nike to bump up to around 20, 25 grand ideally. I would also love some fat dividends from Nike, of course. Honest, of course, I'm going to keep letting it ride. And when if tax laws do come out this year, and Honest is still kind of hovering around. Well, Honest hasn't been hovering around at all. It's been on fire, actually. But if we kind of cool off around here below 10 bucks, I'll probably take another trade on Honest. Yeah, just because I'm going to trade my way into another lot of stocks, quote unquote, for free. And it's only because I just want a little bit more Honest. I just love that company and those products so much. And I know you're not supposed to get emotionally attached to stocks or whatever, but I'm only going to take the trade if I see an opportunity, of course. Oh, and that actually reminds me, Honest just barely surpassed Treasuries, which is very good to see. Like, TLT has been absolutely disappointing for me lately. And I love the sight of my stocks that used to be kind of on the bottom of this list just grow into that top position. Like Honest, for example, I've had 1,225 shares for a while now, and it just grew into that number 4 position. I absolutely love seeing stuff like that. Tesla as well, I think I'm just going to keep letting it ride here. PayPal, I would like another lot of PayPal, but of course, like, my OCD, slightly autistic, whatever the hell you want to call it, side of me is like, no, just wait until tax laws come out, then you can trade your way into like whatever 200 shares of PayPal. Oh, and I also think PayPal will be a dividend paying stock in the future. I'm sure other people have already made this prediction or whatever, but I think PayPal at these levels of valuation, as the stock price recovers and their stock buybacks aren't as effective, because obviously if they're still putting, these are just numbers off the top of my head, these are not real numbers, but let's say they're constantly putting $1 billion into buybacks. As the stock price keeps going up, obviously it's not going to be as effective. So perhaps they could take that small slice of their cash flow and earnings and put it towards dividends, so that the long-term shareholders are actually seeing a return on their money. Because I believe PayPal is trading at levels that, well, maybe not so much anymore, but yeah, so anybody that has held PayPal for the last 5 years actually lost money. So I'm sure if there even is anybody that's still holding PayPal that did buy it 5 years ago, I'm pretty sure they would love to see a return on their money, and having a dividend would definitely do that. And of course, I think a lot of more long-term oriented investors were also scooping up shares around this range, right? A little bit too early. I know that was me. I think I did right here. No. Yeah, I think I bought like literally right here when it hit like 74 and it started tanking. But yeah, a lot of like more longer term oriented people were scooping up shares here. And of course, those people would love to see a dividend. So I think we will see a dividend for PayPal in the future. And Pepsi, of course, I would love to have, in the short term, I would love to see Pepsi up near the top, just because I want a little bit more stability in my account. And I know that sounds funny because I have so much margin on my account as well, but Robinhood, Palantir, Honest, Tesla, they've been pumping like crazy. So I think if I put some more capital into Pepsi, juice it up towards the top, if we do have the ideal risk-off scenario that I'm looking for, which is people or the market kind of has a cool-off period, but Pepsi is either sideways or just slightly up. And SoFi, of course, looking back at it, it's easy for me to say I wish I could have bought more, or wish I did buy more, whatever. But I mean, I think I'm good with SoFi. And once again, I know you're not supposed to be too attached to your stocks, whatever, but I still think Robinhood for me I think Robinhood is just my fintech position, like my main one. I know I also have PayPal and SoFi, whatever, but the main one for me is going to be Robinhood. None of my other fintech stocks are going to be bigger than Robinhood unless there's some crazy event, right? I have to clarify that and get out of the way. Obviously, if there's some stupid event where Robinhood goes to zero, then yes, obviously it is not going to be my number one fintech anymore. But so far, it is going to be.